Welcome to our Summit Racing Equipment Thursday Facebook Live. We're a day earlier than normal, but we want to thank our guests for joining us. And we're going to talk about Garrett and his history in just a minute. This ties in with our theme of powered by enthusiasts at Summit Racing. And it also ties in with our theme that we've done a lot this year with Great American Success Stories. We have had some absolutely amazing guests this year. We have had Jay Leno, Ken Lingenfelder, Don Garlitz, Larry Nance, David Freiberger, and now Garrett Mitchell. Garrett, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to read what I stole absolutely shamelessly from the internet. And you know how that is, Garrett. It might be true and it might not be. But So your real name, your character is Cletus McFarland, but your real name is Garrett Mitchell. You are an American businessman, digital content creator, and social media star from Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
You fit in perfectly with our theme at Summit of Powered by Enthusiasts. Your YouTube channel has more than 2.5 million subscribers, which is awesome. So, Garrett, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be on this list.
Yes, sir. You fit in quite well with that list. Good company to be in. So, first things first, we want to talk about how in the world did you come up with the character Cletus McFarland? It is epic and legendary at this point. And how did you think of it? What was happening? What went through your head? You went, I got something here.
Well, I can start from the very beginning and I'll kind of shorten it up. But I used to work for a company called 1320 Video, still a great friend of mine, owned by a guy named Kyle Loftus. And I always made these goofy skits. And I was kind of the man behind, either the cameras or the social media and stuff. And Kyle filmed me doing a funny skit, and he said, "We're standing here with Cletus McFarland," and he just blurts out the name, and then I, made this funny joke about, being made in America, and so is my car, and it was in front of Tom Bailey's Pro Mod Camaro, his 6-second street car Camaro, and Kyle posted the video, thinking it was really funny, put it on Facebook, woke up to a couple million hits, and was just blown away. And that was like when everyone just from that point forward was like, that's Cletus, so I loved it. And then I realized it's a lot easier to follow a guy named Cletus and enjoy a guy named Cletus and his funny, random things than a guy named Garrett. I don't know. It just is. It's like one of those things. And it just stuck. It's such a fun name to yell and, Cletus, I don't know. It just works really well for what I wanted to do. And as I started making videos, people started getting really into it. And I realized, this might be my calling, is being this guy named Cletus. And just started making my own videos. And Kyle from 1320 Video helped me start my own thing alongside my job. And it just kind of put me on a path to success. Just working ever since.
That's awesome. What a cool story. And Kyle, we've done some partnership things with Kyle. So Kyle, if you're watching, shout out to you. You've been a good partner with us, and it's awesome you got your start that way, Garrett. With you working at 1320 then, so you've been around car stuff forever, right? I mean, how did you get into this back when you were a teenager or even before then?
Well, my passion for cars started when my dad was in an automotive business, taxi companies. So being around Crown Vics when I was a kid, I mean, it was like a dream to go to work with him on a Saturday and help mow. And then he'd let me, move Crown Vics around in the yard. And he'd say, put these ones over here, bring this one in the shop. And, I was probably 7, 8 years old. My brother was 4 years older than me, and him and I would go out there and we'd be, backing them into each other on accident and just having a blast, but barely reach the pedals. And I got really into cars just from that tick, getting me started. And then when I turned 14 or 15 in Nebraska, you can drive when you're that age. And I was out driving, saw some guys having a car meet, just pulled up. And that's kind of how I met Kyle and all those guys from 1320 Video. And then when social media started rising, I asked if I could help out and started an Instagram for their page and stuff like that. And just one thing led to another. And then one day Kyle started paying me for my job and giving me more responsibilities, and just did my best until I could have my own thing.
So you've had a lifelong love of Crown Vics, and it's kind of, you've gone from moving them to owning a fleet of them, which is pretty neat.
All-time favorite car. Cool. People always say, like, oh, Cletus, you must have the most Crown Vics out of anybody. And I'm like, no, my dad has me beat by years. I mean, thousands of Crown Vics that man bought and sold. So he's a legend in the Crown Vic world.
So did you go a couple notches up on his list, Garrett, from owning all these Crown Vics? Was he like, that's my boy? How can you do better than that?
You know, when I first talked to him about the race idea with all the Crown Vics, we just thought about it. We're like, there's just no better car. You know, there's no better car for that task. And he had actually just sold his taxi company that he owned basically my whole life. And it was funny because he's like, damn, I wish I would have sold you a bunch of the old cars. You know, it just worked out.
That's awesome. We've actually got a local fella named Rick Hoback, who he and a group started a group called the Panther Spec Series, and they road race Crown Vics. So if you ever get to Ohio, you gotta come up and partake in that, because you're right. They're great cars. They're durable. They're reasonably fast. They're cheap. So it's like such a great spec series. It's a riot to go watch those guys run. It's really fun.
Bang for your buck. You can't beat a Crown Vic.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So, Garrett, would you change anything along the way as you went through your path from being an enthusiast, 1320 videos, probably like a miracle? You're like, they're paying me to do this job, and you love doing it anyway, which is awesome. And all of us are lucky to be able to do what we do and make a living doing it. But was there anything along the way you look back on and go, you know, I might have changed this or done this different or done anything different? Because I know we've got a lot of young viewers that look up to you and they say, man, he is amazing at content creation and just the whole brand that you've built.
Yeah. Nothing major, because I really like where I am now. But I think, you know, if someone could have when you become a content creator, there's like some really challenging times when you're small and don't have a lot of people to back you up. You know, you go through this danger zone of not a lot of subscribers, but there's people watching, and a lot of people are really, you know, mean. I mean, just like crazy things. I've had everything under the sun said about me, you know, and I think in those times, I wish I wouldn't have cared so much about what people said and just kept doing my thing, which I did keep doing my thing. But some days it does, you know, it can ruin your day. And that is just such a small blip on the radar, but I see it a lot of times. For me, it was a small blip on the radar because I was always the class clown. So, you know, getting ridiculed, you know, my whole life was just part of who I am. And I have no problem dealing with it. But a lot of younger guys these days get hit hard in that danger zone. You know, they start to get a little bit of progression, you get a lot of excitement, and then people want to tear you down. That's just how this society works. And I see guys giving up all the time. You know, they're like, I just can't handle the people, the hate. And you can't make it in this industry without being able to just let that stuff brush off your shoulder. So, you know, it did affect me a little bit, and I wish it didn't so much, but I got through it. And that's a lot of the reason why I'm able to do what I do today, is because I just don't care at all what people have to say about me. And people need to adopt that, because the internet is so brutal. It's so brutal that you just have to adopt that mentality as you navigate these waters.
Yeah, that's great advice, Garrett. And there are a lot of keyboard bullies, I'd call them, where hyper aggressive and just looking to rip into anybody, like you said. And so anybody who's listening, be nice to Garrett. He's doing his best. He's putting everything together. He's making content. And like any type of job, we all do the best we can, right? And we do everything we can to give our customers what they want. And I think as long as you don't lose sight of that, Garrett, you're going to be just fine. But you're right. It's the commentary from folks. I mean, and it happens to us as well. You know, we push a video out on a car feature or whatnot.
And they want,
yeah.
It's once you make it to like 100,000 subscribers, then you have enough guys who are like, you know what? I like this guy. Like, don't say that about him. Then you're good. Then you're in the clear. But when you're in that danger zone and you're young and, you know, you're new to business, I mean, I'm sure you remember when you were first getting into business, something small happens and you're like, oh my gosh, like my career is over. Like this could be it. And then a year back, you look, you're like, that was nothing. You're like, well, why would I get so concerned about it? You know, so just gotta freaking keep your eyes on the road and
Yep. Let it roll off your back and move on to the next thing. And you're right. I love it. We call it riding with the herd. You know, you got your herd of people that are absolute supporters and they're diehard and they're awesome. And I think we're both super fortunate that we've got people that are just awesome customers for both of us, you know. So and if they weren't, we wouldn't be here doing what we do. So it's a great thing.
Exactly.
So when Garrett, did you hit that turning point where all of a sudden Cletus is starting to take off? You mentioned the subscriber, the numbers, you're watching it and you're going, I got a lot of people watching but not subscribing. When did you hit that point where you went, wow, this is the real deal and this is something I'm going to be doing for quite a while?
You know, the real day that I turned on the whole thing and went from like, you know, because I was in law school and just working my butt off to stay in law school and do the YouTube thing. The real turning point for me was I went to TX2K, a real big event out in Texas, and I drove my truck and trailer and my Corvette all the way out there to shoot some videos. And I had to be back Monday for tax law. And so I'm just hauling through the night, you know, been up all night. I'm driving and we got some delays. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make it in time. And I had already missed all the classes you could miss. And so we unloaded my C7 out of the trailer and I took off, and that is much faster than, you know, towing the truck and trailer and having to stop. And Cooper drove the truck and trailer the rest of the time. And I got all the way to school. It's like 2 minutes to spare. I slammed the door, run inside, and the professor turns on like a video that was an hour and a half long on tax law, like something I could have watched from home. And I remember walking out of class that day and I just called my parents because, you know, that's my rock, you know, my family. And I was like, hey guys, I'm just letting you know, like, this is it. I'm done with law school. I'm dropping out. It's my last semester and I'm going full time with the YouTube thing. And my parents, you know, didn't have so much resistance because they were excited for me, but I did get calls from, you know, my grandparents and stuff. They're like, you know, what are you doing? You're chasing this dream to be this guy named Cletus on the internet. Like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, I just had to make that call. You know, I was starting to make some decent money to pay for everything I was doing. And, you know, there's so much good support from the people watching. And I just was like, you know what? I got to do what I want to do here. Definitely not stay in law school. So just started making videos every day and the rest is history.
That is awesome. What a great story. So do you have any in all the builds and projects, Garrett? And we could probably spend a whole nother segment well over an hour just talking about the builds and projects. Do you have any that were like your worst nightmare? It's that car that you start off loving and you hate it by the time it's done. And you're get this thing out of my life. It's awful. It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I have one that I feel like tops everybody's story, nightmare story. We built Toast, our burnout car, last 2 years ago. 632 big block. You know, we bought it all the right parts, all the right stuff. Put a big blower on it because we wanted to go over to Australia and compete in their burnout contest, Summer Nets. And we built the car pretty fast. Like we had to have it done in a month and a half to put it in a container to go to Australia. And, you know, the event is relying on us because we're promoting that we're going to be there. All the sponsors who helped get the car together relying on the fact that we're going. You know, I'm heavily invested in it. The viewers are heavily invested in it. Car's having major problems. I mean, hurting the motor on the dyno a couple days before it was supposed to leave. Overnight in pistons, overnight in bearings, the whole nine, slapping it together. And then, you know, getting barely any sleep and then putting it in a container and not done. So now I got to wait 6 weeks. 6 weeks to get there. And then I'm getting pictures of the car at the port that fans had taken the car out of the container to take photos with it. So I got a car that's not done out of the container. I don't even know where it is. Someone just posted on Facebook. And like the car is in a container that's tagged. It's not supposed to be out of the container until it's in the possession of the event's hands. So I'm seeing pictures of the car before it's even arrived in Sydney, Australia. So, like, you can imagine my stress went from, all right, this car is got problems, to like, now, am I even going to get my car? At this point, I'm like, hopefully they just steal the thing, because then I can go over there and just drive someone else's car, So whatever. They end up getting the car. There was some minor damage to it from shipping. I don't even care, because it's just third gen Camaro. Like, it was already a little bit beat up. And we get there. We finally get the thing started up on some Australian methanol. Thing's smoking out the breather. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing's toast. The crank pickup was given a false RPM, false rev limiter, and just problem after problem. But we were out of time. They're like, it's time for you to do your skid. I'm like, whatever. I pull up, man. There's like freaking 40,000 people. It's their biggest event of the year. And I freaking light tires off, tip it in. Back of the car starts a tire fire. Huge tire fire. I mean, the whole back of the car is up in flames. I stayed in it for about 5 more seconds. Motor completely blows up. And I hit the wall. So we're talking 10 seconds. I caught the car on fire, blew the motor, and wrecked it in a country that I've never, in a different country that took, 3 months to get the car there and us there. So 10 seconds, blown up, crashed, on fire. And I just got out, and I'm like, at least we did something cool, So the crowd was super fired up about it, because it was really cool. I mean, it blew up, made this massive fire, and then this horrific sound when it blew up. So they were all fired up. But then it was like, we're there for another week, which was too much time for me to not do anything. So I freaking called up a parts distributor over there, found a motor, big block, drove 3 hours back to Sydney, got this big block, drove back, pulled it apart. Actually, we bought a motor from a guy that had some problems, so we sold that motor back to the guy. Then we went and bought whole 9 yards. We stayed up all night, got a motor in it, went back out the next day. The car had like no brakes, so I pulled up. I had no brakes. I just popped the thing out of neutral in the second. Tried to tip it in, drove it around for a while, got walled up, blew the tires, and that was it. That was still good, though. So the motor was still running after that. But, man, it was a freaking battle to get it to that point. So,
yeah. But now look where it is. Like, you have,
Yeah, now it rips.
Yeah. Big inch blown motor. It's, it's Summer Nats ready. It's you can compete with things like the Killer Bee or like that kind of stuff. That's super cool.
Yeah, but I mean, man, it was a freaking stressful situation getting it to where it is today. So,
yep. So, Garrett, on the opposite of that, do you have a favorite car? You got a lot, and it's probably really hard to pick, but you know,
I definitely have a favorite. That'd be Leroy, my bodyless Corvette. Yeah,
that's pretty iconic, isn't it?
It's just the one, man. It's like the one car that I learned to drag race in, the car that I rose with for my whole channel, the car that is most notable out of the whole group. It's the most fun for me to drive. It's definitely the most violent and crazy and exciting. Just when Leroy's running good, man, it's like that's the best. That is the best.
And that's like so from going from Leroy to the El Camino, it's, you have Leroy that's all stripped down and it's bare, it's race car. Is the like getting in the El Camino, is it like driving a Cadillac after getting out of Leroy?
Luxury. Yeah, it's luxury. But I built it to be that way because, I wanted something that was easier on us on race week, something that was dialed in, because when we're on those big, long drag week trips, we're editing every day, filming every day. So worrying a little bit less about the car is nice. I'm always down for a party. Taking one of the cars, it's more difficult. But when you take the Elco, it's a good chance you're not going to have to work on it all week, which is nice.
So, Garrett, we've got a question from Keith Gill. What year vet is Leroy? That is a good question because you can't tell by looking at it, obviously.
Yeah, it's actually it's a C5 and it's crazy. It's 2001. It has this placard on it. It says last car built in 2001. So I guess Leroy's the last ever 2001 C5.
Wow.
It's got some history.
Leroy has providence.
I don't know. I was like,
increase the value of it tenfold, right?
It's going to end up in the vet museum one day.
It might, that'd be hilarious, wouldn't it?
It's a good idea. So Garrett, you've done a lot of different racing, and you and I share that in common. My goal is I want to race everything before I'm someday not able to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of cool stuff. What do you want to do next? Like, what have you not done yet where you look around and the whole spectrum of stuff to race and you say, I got to try that?
I would say probably the highest on my list right now. Are you saying at a professional level or just try it out?
Nah, just try it out, whether it's like rallycross or trophy truck or, maybe going to Moab with a Jeep or whatever it is.
I really want to go over to like New Zealand or Australia and race those pro sprint jet boats. The ones where it's like the big lake and it's got all the paths and there's passengers going like this and they're that's pretty high on my list.
It looks like when them guys are racing it and you have your passenger, your navigator going, it looks like there's a lot going on in the office in that little boat.
Yeah, I'm like, how does this guy know the route? Like,
yeah.
There's so many turns. I don't know how they know the turns. But I just want to go do that for sure. I love jet boats, so
yeah, that looks pretty awesome. It reminds me of like, have you ever seen the rallycross guys that are doing a similar thing? But at least they have a road. They can look ahead and see the tree that's the marker and, right at the tree, whatever.
That stuff's wild.
Yeah. And the jet boat guys, like you're saying overseas, Garrett, it's even like 10 times faster and no land markers that you could point to, at least as far as I can see. They must have some way to know where they're going, though. But that is pretty awesome. That would be a pretty neat one to do.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of overseas racing, I know, went to Summer Nats and did that. Is there any skills, you see those guys, tip those cards in and slide them like they do.
Yeah.
Is there anything that, translates from like your drift, you've got recently into drifting, that kind of, is there a similar driving style or is it apples to oranges?
Yeah, no, I think drifting is definitely probably the closest thing. It's kind of hard. I think there's a lot of like just luck and burnouts. I mean, when you tip a car over, like when you're when you enter and you're doing like 40 or 50 mile an hour and you tip it in, like there is a good chance you're going to lose control right then and there. So it just kind of is how the car comes around, because the pad varies in grip all day, and some cars vary in grip and power, and if you have issues, I don't know, I think a lot of it's like its own driving set. In a drift car, you're really not doing that style of stuff, just letting the car go wherever it wants to go. But I'm surprised at how much skill it does take to like do a legit. If you went and watch like a pro level burnout in Australia, burnouts don't seem like they can be like a skill based thing. But you watch like a guy, like a beginner guy, do a burnout, and then you watch one of these pros do it in Australia, and you're like, holy crap, like, that was amazing. Like that guy just literally just. I don't know. It's just impressive. Like these guys do some crazy stuff. It's pretty cool.
I can safely say I've never seen a sad person doing a burnout. So
yeah, that's true. Burnouts literally solve all problems. It's the best therapy of all time.
It's kind of like the automotive happy pill, right?
Yeah, there's
having a bad day, go do a burnout.
Yeah,
just
light them up.
Sometimes I just like when you're on a return road and you're pissed off at your drag car, I'll just floor it and just light the tires for like 100 feet. I mean, you shouldn't do that, but sometimes I just have to.
So recently, you've made your fastest pass you've had in the El Camino. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's the El Camino's developed for you.
Yeah, we're pretty pumped on the El Camino. We actually found out that the rear end was in a bind yesterday. So, that could be a problem. We were having a lot of problems with traction, like we'd make the car go 60 feet and then blow the tires off. So we've just been battling that. It's not that there's a power is an issue or the car has everything. It just couldn't get down the track.
Yeah, I've seen recently you guys have battled suspension setup issues, and that's something important. Chassis setup is just as important as building a big motor or spending a bunch of money on parts. Having someone that knows how to set up a car and setting up a car right is just as crucial as essentially spending money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all my other cars have just been like stock suspension stuff. So to have a 4-lane car and learning all that, I'm like, geez, didn't realize how important this stuff was. All my other cars, I just kind of put stuff on and try it. And if it works, it works. This thing is like, if you don't have it right, it's not going to go down.
Yep,
So
pretty awesome.
It feels good though to finally go break through. I think tonight we're gonna race it and hopefully go 720s or so. We'll see.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Garrett, do you have any plans? I know that if you look in the automotive space right now, there's a lot of talk, a lot of fervor about electric vehicles, EV this, EV that, EV swap, do this, do that. We've actually done a Model 3 performance project vehicle, had a lot of good success with it. It's fast as an autocross car. It goes 1170s at the drag strip, which for a 4-door family car, not bad. But it's a different kind of experience. It is not the same as internal combustion stuff. Not that it's bad, but it's just different.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad.
Any plans or any interest in that stuff at all?
You know, I mean, I do think that the instant torque is cool, but there's a lot missing. You know, that like it's the fun part about racing is the sounds and. But I mean, man, it'd be nice to not have to work on my stuff much. But it would also suck to get zapped really bad. So I mean, they each have their pros and cons. I think no matter what, the electric stuff is coming.
Yeah.
You know, how long it's going to take to catch the fast combustion stuff, I don't know. But we're ready to, you know, do whatever. Like, I think there's an electric car in our future. I just don't know how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing is, like, how much is it going to cost drag racers to build an electric car? You can basically make anything work out of a junkyard right now. So who knows? And who knows, is it better for the environment? I don't know. Is the massive lithium holes they're creating in the earth to get all that all the stuff for these batteries out worth it? And then shipping it on diesel powered mega ships and all that stuff. Is it more efficient for our earth? I don't know. But it sure is being forced upon us.
Yep.
And it's hard to say. So I don't know. I just kind of have been sitting back and watching, and I'll do whatever is fun and exciting. And right now, electric is not fun and exciting for me. So I'll keep doing my thing with what we got.
Plenty of other options, turbos and gasoline, right? And
I know. There's no replacement for a big turbo.
A wise man once said, guys, you can't go fast without gas. And I still, in 2021, I still think that is true. So we're safe.
Yeah, there is some truth to that. It is funny because I mentioned we had Don Garlitz on earlier this year, and he and other people have had a goal to go 200 in an electric, dragster, basically.
Yep.
And, you think about that today, and it's like, how many guys go 200 on like drag week? I mean, it's just like matter of course. And here you have Don Garlitz, incredibly smart, one of the most ingenious, inventive people ever in racing. And he's struggling to get to 200, doing everything. And I'm convinced Don will get there. If anybody will get there, he'll do it. And I have no doubt about that. But it is a challenge, and there's a lot of things people need to learn with that. And Garrett, I agree with you. That visceral element of the sound of just an awesome, Leroy making a pass. It's awesome, and you miss that with the electric stuff. So hey, we beat electric to death. Let's move on and talk about some other cool stuff. How about, speaking of people that we've met and people you've met? Have you met anybody? And you've met a lot of people over the years. Have you met anybody where you've met them and said, I cannot believe that I'm sitting here talking to this person? Like, it is surreal, and you just go, and I've been fortunate to have that experience with some folks over the years. And I remember just every one of them. I remember the whole conversation like it was yesterday. And it's just, it's such a cool thing to experience that if you can.
I'd say for sure my biggest one, I've always had a couple of guys on my list that I wanted to meet. That'd be Adam Savage from Mythbusters, Jeremy Clarkson, Jay Leno, and Travis Pastrana. Like, those were my top four. And this year I got to meet Travis Pastrana, and he rolls up to the track, and like I knew he was coming, so I was all excited. He came into the track and was just like, "What's up, man?" And I was like, "What's up?" And he's just like, hanging out. He gets in his limo and starts drifting it, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Travis Pastrana's here. I'm like, I'm going to go get in my car. And we started drifting together. And it was like, I mean, dude, that guy is everything I ever expected on TV. And, I've been watching him since I was so young. Watch his double backflip live. And he's just like, is the real deal. He's just so cool. And I don't know, man. I was so freaking pumped on it. That was amazing. Like, Travis Pastrana's here, and he's everything I ever thought he would be and more. And this is amazing. It was cool. So I still, I've done a couple things with him since, but I'm still like really excited whenever I get to hang out with him.
That's awesome, Garrett. I envy you for that. I've never met Travis. I've heard he's awesome. Like you, I've watched him for years with all the crazy stuff that he's done. And I don't remember off the top of my head, but how many broken bones he's had. I mean, just, I'm trying to remember the number. I thought it was over 100 or something.
I asked him, and he was like, well, it's really hard to keep track because sometimes one break is like 10 different, spots like his foot. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And he didn't really have a number for me then, but I mean, just such a cool, humble guy, really down to send it on any occasion. Like, he will do it. So,
yeah.
That's cool.
No fear of anything.
And he's done a really good job of, going from a freestyle, a professional motocross rider to freestyle rider to, like I said, he's much like yourself, Garrett. And, he not only races rally cars and, does some NASCAR stuff and done, off-road racing. It's, you guys have developed this skill set, you're a jack of all trades and, a master of none.
Yeah, no, I agree. I aspire to be to his level of being able to do any sport like really well.
Yeah. That is an interesting thing to talk about. How many people can you think of that have done the breadth of stuff that Travis Pastrana has done? I mean, when you think about
that's insane.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a
crazy.
Skydiver. I mean, rallycross driver. I know he can drift, motocross, freestyle motocross. I mean, he's got a big skill set.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty hard to compete with. I could check one or two boxes, but not like 9 or 10 that he's got. That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure he can get in anything and just drive it to its mechanical limit. And that's a cool set to have. I'm really good at braking stuff, but I tend to run out of talent in the driving aspect.
So you check that box. You're a good parts tester for Summit,
There you
go.
go.
Want to break something, we give it to Justin and he handles it,
There you go. That's perfect.
Hey, speaking of breaking stuff, let's talk about your next event. You've got a big event coming up, and I know our audience is going to want to hear about it. And it is, before the show started, I was telling you that the Ranger holds a special place in my heart. If my wife's listening, she'll remember even before we were married, I'd take her out for dates in my awesome Ford Ranger. And it was just a phenomenal little truck. Ford did a great job. I probably beat that thing relentlessly and I could never kill it. And it was a dynamite little truck. So you've got an event focused on the Ford Ranger coming up, right, Garrett?
Yep. Yeah, we got the Danger Ranger 9000 on Saturday. So we basically have 40 Ford Rangers racing for 60 laps. And it's just going to be an outrageously fun run what you brung. You just have to have a stock engine, intake manifold to exhaust manifold, and we're just going to have a really good time and run it out at the Freedom Factory. And we're lucky enough to have you guys, Summer Racing, sponsoring the show.
Absolutely. We are so glad to be part of it, Garrett. Who are some of the folks you've got coming to drive in this event? I know it's an interesting mix of people.
Yeah, so it's an open field. So we have a bunch of people from outside of, our normal group who signed up, which is exciting. And the best part is the winners of it get a race in our Les Mullets race, our Crown Vic race, with a bunch of YouTube and just TV celebrities and stuff like that. But, some of the guys on my list who are still coming, obviously James, my mechanic. We've got Vice Grip Garage coming. Couple other YouTubers, but other than that, it's a bunch of everyday guys who built some Ford Rangers with cages, and that's what I'm most excited about, is to see one of those guys shine. And it's going to show who put in the most effort and comes to win.
That's super awesome. So speaking, it's at the Freedom Factory. Let's talk a little bit about that and how, did you ever think 5 years ago, did you ever think you were going to be a racetrack owner?
No, I knew about the Freedom Factory, but I never even imagined it as a place for us, because Bradenton Motorsports Park, the drag strip we're always at, is connected to the Freedom Factory. So I always saw it back there, and I was, man, that place is shot. I'm like, that place is cooked. You know, you drive by, it's abandoned. And I always wondered kind of what the deal was. I knew that, you know, it had gone bankrupt and shut down in 2017 and just never clicked to me. But as, you know, YouTube and the law cracks down on doing stuff on the street, you know, it affects your monetization, things like that. I really did need a place to start doing stuff. And one night I was at dinner with Victor, the owner of the drag strip, and we were talking about it. And I was like, dude, that's honestly the perfect place for me to do all my stuff. He's like, yeah, you're kind of right. And so luckily the track had been for sale for 2 years already. So I called the owner up and we made a deal. That was it. It just happened that fast, like a week.
Yeah, and you've certainly, you know, you went into it running. So, you know, the track, you know, if you watching some of Garrett's previous videos, the track was in, you know, a little bit of this state of disrepair. And you've gone ahead, you've put bleachers in, lights. I mean, you repaved parts of the track. You've gone tenfold into this thing. And is it nice just to, you know, stand there in your announcer's booth and just look at this, you know, look what I've done. That's got to be a nice, like a satisfying feeling.
I just love having people there. It's like the best place ever for spectators. It only holds a little bit of spectators. It's such a small racetrack, but the people who do get in just have the best time ever. So I love that aspect of it.
And it's very cool to see someone like you keeping, like I said, a local racetrack alive, because we've all grown up with, you know, our local racetrack. So and spent a lot of time there as a kid. Like when I was a kid, my dad would load us up in the car on a Saturday night, and we'd go up to Barberton Speedway and watch, you know, the asphalt guys run. And that was, you know, it was cool to watch from compacts to the whole way up. And that was just, I wanted to drive a race car. That was like, you know, it just put a smile on my face as a little kid, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it sucks seeing them close left and right. So it's exciting when they do pop back up. I wish I could support more tracks, honestly. It's tough, man. A lot of these, you know, going back to the internet people, you know, they're all complaining and moaning that these tracks are closing, but they haven't gone there for 5 years. You know what I mean? I try to make it out to every event that I possibly can, even if I, you know, just pop in for 10 minutes, just to support and show some love. You know, Bradenton, we are lucky to have super strong tracks, but there's places in this country where it's not looking so good for, you know, their racetracks, and people got to step up and go out and support. That's the only way to keep them going. Yeah, because grassroots racing is truly the foundation of being an automotive enthusiast. Sure. Everything starts on the racetrack. And if we don't keep those little guys around, it's like I said, it's not good.
Well, and a lot of people think, like, they watch, say, an NHRA national events. It's televised, it's on TV, and, you know, it's pretty easy to click around on your channels and look at it. And a lot of people think, well, I go to my local track and I don't see that. Well, you think of racing like a big triangle. That NHRA grouping is the top maybe 10% of that triangle. Yeah. The other 90% of the people that are at their local tracks, bracket racing every weekend, or doing fastest streetcar shootout stuff, no prep events, whatnot. There are so many different ways, though, to get out and enjoy it. And Garrett, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is important for people to go out and participate and go to your local track. And when you look down the road and you see a track closing and people go, oh, that was terrible, you got a great point. When was the last time you went out there? When was the last time you supported it and went out to see a race on a Saturday and actually did some things out there? Whether you race or whether you just spectate, doesn't matter either way, but that track's got so much overhead that it's somehow got to pay for. Yeah. And if people stop going, they can't pay their bills. So it is most important to support your local racetracks. We're lucky. We have a couple great track owners in our backyard. Summit Motorsports Park and the Bader family. They are awesome partners with us. They do a fantastic job. Dragway 42 was actually a track that, same situation, Garrett, it closed. A new owner, the Matcham family, came in and bought it, redid the entire track, actually completely reoriented the track and turned it around. They've done an amazing job of that facility. We run autocrosses out there too. So we're real fortunate that we've got a couple tracks around us. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot of places in the U.S. that don't have the support for their local tracks. And rather than seeing these die, I think all of us need to be going out and participating in our tracks and getting out and supporting the owners. It's super important. And we can't lose sight of that, or else they're not going to be around.
Yep.
Yeah. And Dragway 42, our local, they've made a big jump into not only with the drag racing, they have a pooling strip now, and they're doing the autocross. So they're kind of, they're fitting to everybody. So they're trying to include a bunch of people, which is nice. And like I said, that's what keeps the tracks. Like I said, it's important to keep this stuff around.
And their autocrosses they run are awesome because the pit lane areas are all paved. And so it's like a mini road course. They've got autocrosses that'll be 1:15. They're run by the Akron Sports Car Club, a good group of people we sponsor too. And, you'll go 75, 80 miles an hour in an autocross, which is not normal. A lot of autocrosses are in a parking lot, and these are awesome. I mean, they are really great. So it's great to have a local track that is able to do that. So, Garrett, after Danger Ranger 9000, and I know you got to get that under your belt. You got a busy weekend. You got a pile of people coming in and a whole lot of stuff going on. What's next after Danger Ranger? What's on the list for you?
We got the good old 2.4 hours of Les Mullets. And that's 20 Crown Vics driven by 40 influencers and IndyCar drivers and NASCAR drivers. So that's coming up November 19th and 20th. I mean, that's right around the corner. And then we also have World Cup in between. So we'll be drag racing at World Cup up in Maryland. And I think our last big event is Les Mullets. And that's by some racing equipment. And then we have a Christmas tree race, and that's it.
Awesome. So with Les Mullets, I wanted to ask you, the last event, a lot of competition. I don't want to say a lot of controversy, but it was a lot of good racing, especially at the end. Are you noticing the racers a lot more smack talking, a lot more people saying, I'm coming to take my win, and I'm coming, Garrett, I'm bringing it? Or are they still kind of chill and kind of a relaxed environment, or is it getting pretty competitive?
There's a couple racers who have now been out there like 3 or 4 times and gotten, 5th to 3rd place. So I think there's a lot of people gunning for Les Mullets. I personally think I need a win. I won the first Freedom 500, but I'm coming for a win at Les Mullets. Me and Bowman talked about it. We're not playing around. We're going to try and get a W. But there's a lot of good teams. So we're going to really stress this one not to be a crash 'em up derby and try and make it like a really sick race. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Awesome. That'll be an excellent event.
Yep.
So you look ahead to 2023. Think you'll do similar events, or is it way too early to tell and you got to get through this year before you speculate into next year?
Well, I think for 22 we have some really cool stuff lined up. We're always trying to build new stuff, and I think we're going to switch from Crown Vics to something else, so that I have in mind. So I think there's some good stuff coming up.
Awesome.
I just can't say anything about it yet.
I understand. Top secret, top secret probation, right?
Yep.
So obviously, your core love of racing starts with drag racing. How is you ran both Rocky Mountain Race Weeks this year in 2 different cars. Let's talk a little bit about that and how it is, with your first one running in the Elko and then running Leroy in the second one. I get driving, the El Camino is as a Cadillac, but Leroy just really puts a smile on your face?
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 different experiences, right? You got auto car, simple, but you got transmission temps to worry about. We're in the mountains. We had brakes to worry about, pulling a trailer through the mountains with a heavy car. Leroy can obviously engine brake because stick shift pretty easily. So, the El Camino has its own problems, and then Leroy has its own problems. Leroy is pretty easy on the street, but we had some vibrations in the clutch, so we had to drive at certain RPM, certain gears to keep the vibration down.
That clutch swap looked grueling, and you and Brett, I felt for you guys. It was really cool for the lift guy to come in clutch though when you had to pull it back out.
Yeah, luckily Brent is just like a lifesaver, man. That guy, him and I together, like I couldn't do without him, man. He's co-piloted
for you like a couple times now. You guys have really
every Rocky Mountain Race Week Brent has been my co-pilot, and then Kevin went on drag week with me, but Brent and I have done them all together, so we plan on just keep on doing all the race weeks together, and we just have the best time. We just cruise down the road with your headsets on, talking smack to the boys in the other cars, and everyone's breaking down, you can't help each other. It's just so fun. It's the best.
So we've talked a lot about on land stuff, but one of your other hobbies is, in the water. You guys have jet boats, and you guys are doing a jet boat challenge. Let's talk about that a little bit, and the differences between, say Jack Stan's, big block boat compared to your boat to the other guys.
Yeah, the boat stuff's just so fun, man. We built those little mini jet boats thinking they would be a fun side project, but they get more views than our race car stuff. So we're like, all right, well, we'll do more boat content in the summers, and just did the $2,500 boat challenge, which we still have to finish next week. But I really enjoy boating myself. So to get out, and I think all the guys do. So to get out on the water is like a really nice change up from the normal turning wrenches every day that they do. And I don't mind getting away from the desk and editing and stuff to just go spend 6 or 8 hours on the water. Who wouldn't? So it's awesome.
Yeah, and it seems like you've really assembled a great team over, like I said, you guys got a new shop. You're over there, got that fun paint, the paint scheme on the front of the building. That's real loud. Yeah, I saw you guys had a visitor in your shop the other day, a deer. That was super cool.
Yeah, man, this place is a blessing. I'm in the shop right now. It's amazing. Like all our cars are here, all our tools are here, all in one place. We have everything we need. All the guys come in, and everyone's got a smile on their face. It's just locked and loaded. Best place ever. We're killing it and just having fun. And the track is next door, so like literally right now, I'm about to get in my Ranger and go practice for the Danger Ranger 9000. So it's gonna be fun. Just pop right over.
That's awesome. So Garrett, do you have any alligators on the property? I remember another really famous person reading his book, Smokey Eunuch. And at his shop in Daytona, they had an alligator that would come into the shop, and on a Friday night, they'd get a fifth of whiskey and maybe drink a little more than they should. And they'd go pull the alligator out from under the bench and have wrestling time. And it's a great story. If you ever get a chance to read Smokey Eunuch's book, it's awesome. But I'm guessing, I don't know if you wrestle alligators, but being where you're located at, you probably have some on the property. And if they ever come out on the surface when you're in the middle of drifting or something, and you're like, oh man, I don't want to hit the alligator.
We've had one gator in the track, and it was a little one that a bird brought in. But other than that, the only things we've had in the track, we have a lot of raccoons. There's gators around. We have gators in the ditches, but not in the racetrack. Only in the ditches outside and in the ponds. We've had a couple gators removed from ponds on the track properties just because they had like babies and stuff. So it was like an infestation. And that's when you want to move them before they get everywhere.
Yeah.
But I get them at my house. I get them all over. We haven't wrestled with any. I did get attacked by a deer last week. So that was probably the most wildlife we've had. That was on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. And then we saw, there's a gator in yesterday's video on the jet boats. So there's a lot of wildlife in Florida that's just around the shop all the time. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome. Garrett, out of all the cars you own, what do you not have that today, if you could say, I want to buy that right now? And there's always stuff, I know, because I love watching when you do a reveal, like, look what followed me back to the shop, and you have a jet boat or whatever.
It's easy. I already have that one dialed in. Superbird, yeah. We drove, so that Tesla we had, we went down to Arkansas, and we were dumb enough to drive the thing down there and do the charge along the way and all that stuff. But we get down there, we go to the Land Speed event. We met some guys from a place called the Garage Shop out of North Carolina. And it's the coolest thing. They took a Superbird body and a Ford Talladega Torino, and they reignited the Aero Wars on modern Cup chassis. And if you get a chance, I'll give them a shout out. Aaron, the guys down there are unbelievably talented fabricators. I think if I remember right, the Superbird went like 224 in the mile, and the Talladega went like 225. It was so close. Super cool. It was really awesome. That's cool.
That car is one of my favorites. So I've always loved the wing cars. The Daytonas and Superbirds are just so cool.
I know. And to think they were like hard to sell when they first came out.
Right. You've seen the pictures of the dealer lots that they're all sitting there and all the crazy colors.
It's so cool. I don't know. It just blows my mind. Like that even makes them more desirable, you know. It's like,
There's something about 4 foot of wing in a Hemi and a Mopar that just, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that's something that
You
just,
can't go wrong with
yeah,
that.
I'm all about it. Just like I
And
said,
those-
put the smile on
Those
anybody's
things
face.
are so long, they might not even fit in our workshop. I mean, they're the biggest cars known to
They're
man, and
huge.
those adds like 2.5 feet onto them. And yeah, those cars are super cool, though. I love those. Garrett, would yours be kind of a stock resto, or no? You want to mod it and probably
I
throw a
got some
turbo or two
ideas.
on it?
Yeah, I got some ideas. I definitely wouldn't leave it alone.
Yeah,
We'd do something fun.
that would be awesome. That would be a super, super cool car to do.
Yep.
So I'm looking at our customer comments that are up here. Travis mentioned they save history at the garage shop as well. Absolutely right. And I think that's really about all the customer comments up there. Functioning wing. Yes, that's exactly right. That's what those cars were back in the day. So a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
So Garrett, you've got a busy weekend. You got to go practice. You got to get everybody in and situated. And I'll tell you, I don't know how you keep up with everything that you have going on, because, you know, just planning one event is an enormous amount of work, and you constantly are on the go. How do you come up with the ideas for the different types of event? Like, you know, Danger Ranger 9000. I know there's, you know, some videos and things that are out there, but did you happen across that and you went, you know, I got to do an event around this?
It's mostly just dinners with the guys and stuff. We just start spitballing and something sounds funny and it hits the table and we're like, all right, well, let's talk Monday and see feasibility. And then we just go for it. Or it's just random thought in the middle of the night. You know, I don't know. Whatever hits the table and sounds good, willing to try. So I don't know. They just come to us. It's fun.
Well, that is excellent. It's good to have a vision and know where you're going, Garrett. And we enjoy the partnership. Really appreciate you joining us today. And
the partnership with Summit with us has been amazing. You guys are rock stars and so easy to work with. And you let us do, you know, what we want to do. And, you know, you guys help promote and, you know, just all around. It's been a fantastic relationship.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Garrett. We feel the same way. We deeply appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing the van out on track now that you've made the van Camino out of it. So
we got the Ranger van.
Absolutely. That is going to be pretty epic. That is going to be an awesome thing to see. So
yeah. If you guys who are watching, tune in to baldeagle.com. Today's the last day you can purchase the pay-per-view for $14.95 versus $19.95. So $5 adds on if you buy it tomorrow. So baldeagle.com, get them get them before the end of the day, and we'll see you on Friday and Saturday. Drift night Friday, Saturday we have spectator drags and the Danger Ranger. So lots of content, all for one price.
Yep, absolutely, Garrett. And your events are always awesome. I love watching them and keeping up with them and seeing what's going on. And there is no shortage of entertainment the whole entire time. And the last announcer you had was just outstanding. Is that going to be the same person for this one, or you have somebody different?
So this one we have Jared Deanda, Spencer, my buddy Garza, and Nick Savage. And then I just spoke with Larry Mack, who's going to be coming in town to do late mullets. So we have a bunch of different announcers. We're always trying to kind of mix it up so you don't hear the same voice every live stream.
Yep.
So it's fun.
Well, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Garrett, anything else? Any other topics you want to cover? We've covered a lot of material today.
Yeah, no, I think we've crushed it. So I'll probably hit the road and go do some practice.
All right, awesome. Well, good luck. Good luck this weekend.
Right.
Have a great weekend. Thank you for the partnership. And Summit fans, make sure you tune in. Give Garrett a shout out. Watch the event this weekend. It is going to be epic. Tons of carnage, tons of cool stuff. And if you want to be entertained, you absolutely should watch it. It will be awesome.
It'll be good.
Garrett, thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Good luck, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.